Yo, what is up? What's poppin'? You know it ain't no stopping. It is your boy, the International Sensei, and welcome to the Enter the Dojo podcast, your source for every damn thing. And of course, we got to bring it back to the fighting because this weekend was some lightning, man. With his karate skills, he is dressed to kill, and this man is on a path and ready to destroy. We need to talk about the return of Wonder Boy, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. Back in the building, ready to kill him, doing his thing, moving through that ring. And if you had it like him, you probably do it the damn same. Sorry, I gotta hit y'all with the bars every now and then. But he was back with his fight versus Jeff Neal, and he looked phenomenal. Last time he fought was against Vicente Luque, which was a really good fight. He ended up breaking both of his hands in that fight. And then, of course, next year, COVID hit. And he was unable to get many matches lined up for himself. And fortunately, he was able to get this matchup with Jeff Neal and put on a stellar performance. 5 rounds of classic Wonder Boy, the sport karate style that he has, that sideways stance, the bladed stance with those lead leg side kicks, blitzing in, hands low. Putting on a damn good show, man. I love watching Wonder Boy fight. And I think, I often, have to talk to people who really don't know the fight game, and it's annoying because people don't understand why certain stuff works, why certain stuff doesn't work, or why certain fighters are at certain places, you know what I mean? So for example, a guy like MVP and Raymond Daniels comparing to Wonder Boy isn't as flashy as those guys. He's not as much finesse. He's not as gonna have all these crazy highlight reel knockouts like Raymond Daniels has had and things like that, but he's much more consistent, and he's in the bigger promotion, and he's had the bigger fights. You know what I'm saying? So it's it's just weird when people try to compare the three. I mean, they're all completely different. If you break them all down, MVP, for example, I mean, yeah, he throws his kicks here and there, but he's primarily a puncher. He's a blitzer. He that heavy blitz offense. Which is a lot similar to if you've been a point fighter, if you've done point fighting, it's kind of like breaking point fighters into different categories. You have people that are heavy kickers who really are lead leg dominant, that throw that floppy foot out. And for those who have done point fighting, know what I'm talking about, pumping side kicks. Or you have a blitzer, which is a person that mainly focuses on the punching. They are very low, very explosive, and they just want to go in there for those punches and get those quick points in. Or you have a person that's kind of in between. And if you know point fighting and you've been around, examples of blitzers, even though he does kick at times, Johnny Tension, he's more of a blitzer. Raymond Daniels is more of in the middle, and then someone like Jason Borelli is kind of is a heavy kicker. But that's some karate history for another day. Anyway, but breaking those guys down, it's just hard to do so because Raymond Daniels is very, very flashy. He throws a lot of spinning techniques. He throws a lot of tornado kicks, a lot of round kicks, spinning round kicks. He has his signature that he's the only one that's ever really done it often, is that side kick into spinning back kick. And it's a dope move, and it's knocked out some people, but I just think it's different levels, and Wonder Boy seems to still be the superior guy just because obviously he's in the UFC. He's had some major title challenges against Tyron Woodley, things like that. I think Raymond Daniels is amazing. Don't get me wrong. I think he's amazing. I think MVP is amazing, but I just feel it's a different level. If I was to rank the three karate style guys, and specifically the guys that do that point style, they have that fought on the NASCAR circuit. I mean, Machida does something similar, but they're specifically they're lead leg side kick, throwing those spinning back kicks, very bladed stance. I would still have to say Wonder Boy. And I think obviously Raymond Daniels might be more entertaining, MVP might be more entertaining, but as far as a person that was gonna do his game plan, win the fight, clean, look good doing it, and none of them are boring, but I would say Wonder Boy is probably still the best guy as far as guys that came from that point karate background and transitioned into MMA. But it was amazing to see him put on that show. Jeff Neal, like in a lot of ways, he did look a little tentative at certain points, but I could kind of understand. Like Wonderboy was like, I think Wonderboy mentioned before the fight happened, he was like, "Look, people have all these grandiose ideas about how to beat me and things like that, and how they're gonna stop my stance and how they're gonna kick up my legs and this and that." And they saw the Darren Till fight and they think that, oh, that's the blueprint. Or saw the Tyron Woodley fight and that's the blueprint. Blah blah blah. There really is no blueprint to the guy. I mean, he's like, or to that style, just because like there's not enough data on it, and then all three of those guys fight uniquely different. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like you're getting a guy like for example, like a Ben Askren. If you're gonna have to fight a guy like a Ben Askren, you could find tons of wrestlers that do relatively the same thing. You know what I mean? Versus someone like Khabib, who is very different in the way he implements his wrestling. But Ben Askren, I mean, he was like a D1 wrestler. I think was he a national champion? I mean, he was in wrestling for a long time, and his offense was go for those legs, get your takedown and things like that. So you can there's tons of ways to implement that and train that. But there really aren't a lot of high level sport karate guys that go into MMA. Really, and there's very few. There's very few of them that even go into like professional kickboxing. And there's even fewer that go into MMA, because I mean, even if you look at like Glory, Raymond Daniels is like one of the only guys to really like put in work in Glory. Wonderboy, I don't think he ever went to Glory, and I don't think MVP ever went to Glory either. But like, you see what I'm saying? Like, it's so few and far between. So it's like there's really no blueprint, because every freaking example of it is so different. So it's like you watch Raymond Daniels, watch Wonderboy, watch MVP. All three of those fights are going to look extremely different. And I mean, obviously, if you have different people, you're going to have different styles. But as far as like that particular stance and those particular backgrounds, all three of them fight so vastly different that you really can't get a quote unquote blueprint for them. Now, Woodley, he probably had the best workaround, is that he brought Raymond Daniels in to simulate how Wonderboy fights and have that point karate style with that bladed stance and stuff like that. But at the same time, I mean, he still had his fair share of issues. Was unable to finish Wonderboy in either of the fights. So it is what it is. But my thing about martial arts is like but a lot of styles have merit, but you have to just understand and pick and choose what works and what doesn't work. Obviously, there's certain shit that does not work in karate. There's certain shit that doesn't work in taekwondo. Certain shit that does, there's just certain stuff that just doesn't work, obviously. But it's like, okay, you take what doesn't work, throw that shit away. Take what works, implement that, and use it for your game plan. That's what Wonderboy does. I was like he uses that blitz, which is he does exactly what he did with point fighting. The only difference is, instead of a back fist, a reverse punch, it's a jab cross. It's the same thing. It's the exact same thing. There's no difference. He's using very similar footwork to what a point fighter used. He's using that lead leg side kick to keep you at distance. Like, there's a lot of stuff that he's using that comes from that point fighting background, which is very effective in mixed martial arts, like, in a lot of ways. You know what I'm saying? So I'm happy that guys like that are around, though, just because like it allows you to understand like there are all different types of styles. You know what I mean? There's all different types of backgrounds you can have. You don't need to have like a set style. Obviously, like, you need to know how to wrestle, like, and defend takedowns. You need to understand some jiu-jitsu and how to get out of situations like that. But just as true as that is, you need to know how to freaking box. Like, you need to know how to get up, get on your feet and throw those hands, throw those legs, because there are guys that you might not be able to take down. And again, I hate to harp on like a guy like Ben Askren, but he's a prime example. I mean, Robbie Lawler, if I was the ref, I would have stopped the fight. He picks the dude up and freaking slams him on his freaking head and starts bashing his face in. And he looked like he was asleep. I would have called the fight because he looked like he was stiff as a freaking board. Then after that happens, then you go to George Masvidal's fight, where George Masvidal just threw that flying knee out because Ben Askren was just diving at his legs. Like, and then He goes to fight Damian Maia where he gets strangled because he's a wrestler and has to get on the ground. So now you had a wrestler that was extremely strong and he was an amazing champion, but he had some holes in his game that got blown up because he got in matchups against people that had the perfect answer to what he was doing. George Masvidal had those flying knees. Obviously, Damian Maia, I think was like, I know he's won. How many times has he won the world championship? I need to look that up. I'm sorry, guys. I know he's won world championships in jiu-jitsu. I just don't know how many. But Damian Maia is like a jiu-jitsu world champion. Amazing off his back. Like, phenomenal jiu-jitsu practitioner. And obviously, Robbie Lawler, even though he lost the fight, I mean, he had been looking like a freaking truck just hit his face. Like, so you need to obviously keep your base, but you need to expand. That's the point of mixing of the martial arts. Having, like, it could be, you could have a karate base, but then have a jiu-jitsu freaking purple belt or whatever, and have some years in boxing, and have a couple years of wrestling with some D1 guys in your camp. You need to mix it all, because all of it is needed. You can't be a one-trick pony. You can't. I don't think they're really ever. I mean, even like obviously in like the early days of MMA when it first became a thing, like jiu-jitsu was king. But even then, like it got to a point where like, okay, if you can't box, like if I could stop you from getting me on the ground and you can't punch, you're screwed. And vice versa. If you can punch all day, but you can't keep me off of you, and I'm just gonna get on top of you and mount you, you're screwed. So it's like you gotta have both, bro. You have to have both. All fights start on the feet to start, so you need to have those hands ready. You need to be able to fight at distance. You need to be able to use your footwork to get in if you're a wrestler. Like Usman is a great example of that. He's a great wrestler, but he has good hands. He has good boxing. He doesn't throw a ton of kicks, but he throws kicks when he needs to. Like he's a phenomenal fighter. And grew over time, because I'm sure when he first started, he was just wrestler, pick you up, slam you, ground and pound, win the round type of thing. But he implemented a lot of things to his game, and this is why he's the champ. You know what I mean? So it's just great to see, man. It's just great to see. I really am happy that Wonderboy is back in action, and he's talking about fighting Masvidal, which is something I would love to see again. I went back and watched the first one. It was a really good fight. I want to see if Wonderboy could take him out again. If he can, then he will be on track to fight Usman for the title if Usman still has the belt after he fights Burns, which would be dope to see. Sorry, stuttered a little bit. But what do you guys think, man? Do you think Wonderboy can take it to George Masvidal? How do you feel about karate in MMA? I know you have like the practitioners like Machida, Wonderboy, Raymond Daniels, MVP. Like, what do you think about those guys in MMA? Do you feel like they're going to be more? Michelle Waterson, the karate hottie, shouts out to her. Like, how do you feel about those karate practitioners in MMA? Do you feel like it's going to be more of them, or do you feel like the buck is going to kind of stop with them? Like, after they all retire, that's going to be kind of the end of it. But let me know what you think. Please follow me on Instagram at Sensei_Global21, International_Sensei on Twitter. The Entity Dojo podcast is on SoundCloud, iTunes, Spreaker, Spotify, and all that good stuff. And I have the Entity Dojo wristbands with the quote, "Dream big, man. We gotta dream big." This might not be Monday motivation, but these dreams we steady chasing across the nation. Big shouts out to everybody that has followed. Shouts out to people that have actually DM'd me saying they enjoy my podcast. Much love to you, man. Much love. Respect to everybody. Love one another. Be kind to each other. And, of course, keep the good vibes going, man. Thank you so much. And we must now exit the dojo. Us.